Go to our panel now. Parliamentary Secretary for Health Mark Butler in Adelaide and the Shadow Parliamentary Secretary for Disability, Senator Mitch Fifield in Melbourne. Mark Butler, first to you. Apparently your internal polling, Labor's internal polling, it reflects a similar sentiment, and that is that this thing is on a knife edge right now.
Well, I don't know what references you're making to internal polling. Good morning, Gilbert. Kieran, sorry. But look, I think we all have known for a couple of weeks now that this is going to be a very, very tight election. There is no first-term government since World War II that hasn't had a swing against it, usually a significant swing against it, and our margin is very tight. It's only 7 or 8 seats that we need to lose in order to be on the opposition benches. So Julia Gillard, the Prime Minister, has been saying this for some time. This is going to be a race to the finish. It's very tight, and the poll today, even though it shows a 50-50 two-party preferred poll, I think Martin's right from Newspoll that a 37% primary vote probably means that if the election was held today, Tony Abbott would be Prime Minister. And
Martin also said, Mark, that generally governments like to control the loss or the closing of the gap in a campaign. He believes that it's uncontrolled at the moment. That's got to be because of those internal leaks. You just can't stop them.
Well, I don't think there's any doubt that we had a bad week last week. The Prime Minister had trouble getting her message through for a range of reasons, including some pretty successful smears and distractions launched by the Liberal Party. Surely a new low in federal campaigning is launching an attack on a guy while he's flat on his back in hospital, as you saw from Alexander Downer and this morning again from Julie Bishop. But the Prime Minister's made it clear this morning that she'll be returning to her true character, I think, which is talking clearly and talking directly to the Australian people about her plans for the future of the country.
Unleashing the real Julia Gillard. Where has she been? Has she been, kept under wraps by the factional power brokers and the Labor strategists? And it's taken 2 weeks into the election campaign to break the shackles.
Well, I think as the Prime Minister said on the footage you showed earlier, modern election campaigning has become a bit of a science, and she and Tony Abbott and every leader before her in the elections I've been watching have been running fairly traditional election campaigns. But look, that isn't the style of the Julia Gillard I've known for 10 years. Her attraction as a political figure is that she talks very clearly and she talks directly to the Australian people about how she thinks the country is going and where she wants to help take it into the future. So the fact that she's returning to what the commentators are calling the real Julia Gillard...
It's 3 weeks to go, Mark Butler.
Well, 3 weeks is a long time in politics and it's an eternity in an election campaign. I'm very confident that she can turn this around. She has a very clear plan for Australia's future involving continuing strong management of the economy, returning the budget to surplus in 3 years' time, strong boosting of services in education and health, which would see Tony Abbott cut very significantly. So I'm very confident that there's time to turn this around and there's time for Julia Gillard to be returned as Prime Minister of Australia. But look, there's no doubt we've had a bad week. The polls today show clearly that if an election were held today or tomorrow, Tony Abbott would be the Prime Minister. But I'm very confident that Julia Gillard has the capacity to win this thing. OK,
Mitch Fifield in Melbourne. I want to get your thoughts now on all of that. First of all, you must be fairly buoyant today looking at those polls. With a primary vote of 37%, Labor wouldn't win the election according to Martin O'Shannessy.
Well, the polls make it clear that this is a competitive election. We're still very much the underdogs. We're not going to be too focused on the polls. But you're not, are you? You're now looking very, very strong. That 44% primary vote, you're claiming underdog, but you have to be. And the bookies are showing that you're narrowing it as well. Well, it's been about 70 years since a first-term government lost the first poll that they faced. It would be a remarkable achievement for the coalition to claw back and win this election. It's possible. As I say, we are competitive, but we're going to be focusing and talking about the issues that matter to people, issues like cost of living. Yes, Newspoll is interesting, but it's a theoretical exercise. The real poll actually starts today. Today is the first day of pre-poll voting, and I think it's important for people who are going to vote today to recognise that if the Labor government is returned, they're going to get higher taxes, more debt, more waste and more boats. And if you want to stop that, the only way is to vote for the coalition.
What's the mood like within the coalition now? It must be fairly positive. You know, we're almost halfway through the campaign. Tony Abbott is putting in a fairly solid performance, no massive slip-ups, and the polling numbers are firming.
Well, we're confident about Tony. We're confident about our policy agenda. Far more confident than the government is. We've seen today Julia Gillard saying that she's now going to take control of the campaign. That we're going to see the real Julia Gillard. I mean, you know, are these guys for real? You can't believe anything they say. What Julia Gillard has done is admitted that she has merely been running the lines that have been given to her. Now, of course, we're not going to see the real Julia Gillard. What we're going to see are a new set of lines. And the new lines are, I wasn't being honest before, I wasn't being straightforward before, I wasn't being real before, but believe me now you really are seeing the real Julia Gillard. And she really gave it all away in her interview in the Daily Telegraph this morning when she said, "It's about me." Well, it's not about Julia Gillard, it's not about the Labor Party, it's about the Australian people and their concerns like cost of living pressures, debt, waste. They want good schools, they want good hospitals, and we saw the first demonstration today of what is meant to be the new Julia Gillard, her announcement about giving principals greater autonomy. Well, that's something that we've been on about for a long time. Julia Gillard had the opportunity to give principals more autonomy with the school stimulus program, with the Building the Education Revolution. She didn't. Simon Crean said as recently as last week that school principals were too busy to manage those projects. The announcement today, it's just going to be more spin. It's not real. This government doesn't believe in giving principals authority and autonomy. We're not going to see a real Julia Gillard. We're just going to see more spin and more lines.
OK, Senator Fifield, I want to come back to you for a bit more on that after the break. Stay with us. It's time for a short break on AIM Agenda.